Hey guys, it's Chris at Highlight Guitars and welcome back to another Luthier's Quick Tips. A while back I had posted a video where I talked about how I like to pre-assemble my guitars before I apply any finish, or at the very least before I level sand, polish sand, and buff out my clear coats to a high gloss shine. And the reason I gave for doing that is because pre-assembling the guitar will ensure that all the components are positioned correctly and line up properly. It also allows me to drill all the mounting holes before I get too far into the build and start applying finish. The process of assembling a guitar can actually be pretty taxing on a newly applied finish, and you run the risk of scratching and damaging the finish as you're trying to drill holes and get everything positioned correctly. So doing that before the finish is applied can really save you a lot of headaches down the road. However, it did raise a question from some viewers, and that is, what do I do about the finish as it plugs up the holes that I've already drilled into the wood? Well, there's a process that I use. It's pretty simple. I'm going to bring you in a little closer and show you how that works. Now, it isn't going to be necessary to clean all the holes that you've drilled into your guitar. Specifically, holes that are for screws that will mount a component aren't necessarily going to benefit from cleaning out any of the finish. And obviously, anytime you're trying to clean out stuff, you run the risk of damaging that finish. So you want to minimize the amount of work that you have to do there. And most of the holes that you can leave alone, like I said, are the ones that will mount a component. Like here, I've got 3 holes which will mount the bridge that I'm going to install on this guitar, which is a Fender style hardtail. Specifically, it's a hip shot hardtail bridge. So that type of screw, you don't have to worry about cleaning out those holes, because once you insert the screw, because it's a wood screw, it's going to punch right through that clogged finish and then down into the wood. Same is true if you're mounting a pick guard. Those kind of holes, you don't need to bother with those. The little tiny holes for mounting the back of your tuners, you know, if you sprayed finish onto your back of your headstock, you don't need to worry about cleaning those out either. The kind of holes that you do have to worry about, however, are like the holes for your controls, like your volume and tone pots and your switch. The holes for the shaft of the tuners themselves, those need to be cleaned out. And on my guitars, I like to recess the ferrules for my string through mounts. And as you can see, these holes have gotten clogged up. And if I were to try to just install the string through ferrule and pound it through that clogged finish, there's a good chance it's going to chip and crack the finish around the hole, and that's going to look terrible. Also around a control cavity cover. What I prefer doing, since I recess my control cavity covers, is I'll just mask it off and spray my finishes. And then as soon as the finish has been applied, I'll pull the mask out so that it doesn't tear or crack the clear coats. And that means, of course, I have to reapply the masking tape each time I spray a fresh coat, but that's really not that big of a deal. So when it comes to cleaning out these holes, you'll be tempted just to grab like a drill bit and then feed that drill bit down in there and turn it to try to clean it out. But that's not the way to do it, because the twists on a drill bit are designed to pull the material up. And as you try to turn it, you're pulling that finish up, and you can actually lift it away from the wood surrounding the hole. And that's going to cause a problem that you're going to have to go back and reapply finish around that. And it's never going to look quite right. Instead, what you should use to clean out a hole like this is a Reamer tool. And you can go at it from either the top or through the back and clean it out. And the nice thing about the Reamer is the cutting edges are straight up and down, and they're on a taper. So it's not going to be an aggressive approach to cleaning out that finish that's built up inside the holes. It's just going to gently scrape it off. And I use the same tool when cleaning out the holes for the tuners, and I typically will go at it from the back side, and I'll clean out that that residue, that finish residue that's built up. And oftentimes the tuners that I use, they're Gato style tuners. I specifically use either Gato branded tuners or hip shot tuners. And the housing around the shaft has a slight taper to it. So using a reamer like this will give the hole a slight taper so that the tuner will fit snug into the tuning hole, and it's not going to wobble, or it's going to fit nice and snug. Now for holes like the string through ferrules, like I said, I like to mount the string through ferrules so that the lip is flush with the surface rather than just coming in contact with the back surface. So I actually have two holes here. One is a 1/4 inch diameter, and that's the length of the ferrule. And then the, let's see if I've got a ferrule here I can show you what I'm referring to. So here I have, this is the type of ferrule that I use, and it has a slight lip on it. The body of the ferrule is a 1/4 inch in diameter, whereas the lip is 5/16 of an inch. And if I were to try to pound that in just like this, it's going to cause damage to the finish surrounding the hole. Now, again, you can't, it's really difficult to use a drill bit to try to clean this out. So what I've done is I have taken, this is the shaft of an old drill bit, a 5/16 inch diameter drill bit. And what I've done is I've taken my Dremel with a small thin grinding wheel, and I've cut little notches all the way around the perimeter of the end of that drill bit. And then all I have to do is set it down into the hole, and then I can just gently turn it. And that starts to clean out that finish without damaging the surrounding finish, so that I can get a nice clean shelf for the ferrule to rest on. And I'll check to make sure that it's going to be deep enough and cleaned out enough for the ferrule to fit into. But it's really important that you do it correctly, because the last thing you want to have to do is go back in and repair finish that chipped or cracked around any of the holes that you drilled. And then once all this has been done and you are just about ready to do your final assembly, you can then go back in, level sand, polish sand, buff out the finish to a nice high gloss shine, then start to assemble everything, and it should go together quickly, easily, with very little risk of damaging or scratching your beautifully buffed out clear coat finish.